The sliding glass doors of JFK's Terminal 4 hissed open as Olivia Carter stepped inside, clutching the tiny hand of her 2-year-old daughter Lily. Her other hand rested instinctively on her belly, 7 months pregnant, exhausted, yet determined to keep calm. The early winter air clung to her coat, flakes of snow melted against her cheeks. Nathan, her husband, walked 2 steps ahead, face buried in his iPhone, as if she and their daughter didn't exist. He looked perfect from the outside. Tailored navy suit, Rolex glinting under the fluorescent lights, but his voice cut like ice when he turned to her. "You're slowing me down again, Olivia. Just stay here with Lily while I check in." Olivia frowned. "Nathan, this is our flight to LA, right? You said." But before she could finish, a woman appeared beside him. She was young, sleek, holding a Mont Blanc pen and boarding pass, her perfume sharp and expensive. Olivia froze. The woman's fingers brushed Nathan's arm with practiced familiarity. "This is Vanessa," Nathan said flatly. "She's my business associate. We're flying first class. You'll wait here until I finish helping her check in." Her pulse quickened. "Business associate?" she whispered, glancing at Vanessa's manicured hand resting on Nathan's shoulder. "Nathan, what's going on?" he sighed, impatient. "Not now. Don't make a scene." Olivia tightened her grip on Lily, who began to whimper from the tension in the air. People started glancing their way. Nathan looked around, embarrassed, and hissed through clenched teeth, "Stop acting like a child." Then, with a sudden shove, he pushed the handle of their stroller toward her chest. "Just go sit somewhere. You're not part of this flight." Olivia stumbled backward, the stroller bumping into her knees. Her heart pounded. Her baby kicked. "Nathan," she cried, her voice trembling. "Please, not in front of Lily." But he had already turned away. Vanessa looped her arm through his, smiling as if nothing had happened. Together, they disappeared toward the first-class counter. For a few seconds, Olivia stood frozen in the middle of the terminal, staring at the glowing departure screens through tears she couldn't stop. Around her, the crowd moved like a tide, businessmen, families, lovers saying goodbye. The world kept going, and she was the only one standing still. Lily tugged her coat sleeve. "Mommy? Airplane?" Olivia forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Not yet, baby." Her voice cracked. She sank onto a nearby bench, her breath shaky, stomach tightening with each wave of disbelief. In her mind, fragments of their life flashed: the apartment on Upper East Side, their wedding under soft lights, the promises Nathan made about family and forever. Now all that was left was a cold echo between announcements. "Flight 221 to Los Angeles, final boarding call." The loudspeaker droned. Nathan and Vanessa's flight. She watched them at the gate, Vanessa laughing, Nathan handing over passports, his hand brushing the woman's back like a lover's. Tears blurred her vision. She whispered, "You'll regret this, Nathan." She didn't know then that fate had already started to turn, because 7 minutes later, just as the plane doors began to close, the loudspeaker crackled again. "Mrs. Olivia Carter, please come to counter B immediately. Mrs. Olivia Carter, counter B." Olivia froze, eyes wide, heartbeat pounding in her ears. Lily looked up and giggled. They said Mommy's name. The world had pushed her to the floor, but the next call would change everything. Olivia didn't move at first. The announcement still echoed in her head, but she sat frozen on the metal bench, unable to believe it had been her name. "Mrs. Olivia Carter, counter B." The voice repeated again, calm and professional, yet it sliced through her daze like lightning. People were glancing toward her now, sensing something unusual. Lily tugged her sleeve. "Mommy, they said you," she giggled softly, unaware of the storm around them. Olivia rose slowly, knees trembling. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand, fixed the small wool hat on Lily's head, and pushed the stroller toward the counter. Her heart pounded. The seconds between each step felt endless. Her mind raced. Had Nathan suddenly remembered her? Had he arranged something to make up for the humiliation? Or was it another cruel trick? At counter B, a woman in a crisp blue uniform looked up. "Mrs. Carter? Yes, that's me." "Please wait just a moment." The woman typed rapidly on her computer, then smiled politely. "It appears your ticket has been upgraded to first class, ma'am. A new boarding pass is printed under your name. Flight 221 to Los Angeles, gate A16. You'll need to board immediately." Olivia blinked. "Upgraded? That's impossible. I wasn't even checked in." The agent tilted her head. "Someone must have done it for you. The system shows the upgrade came from an internal authorization. Who? Olivia's voice quivered. I'm afraid I can't say, but it's legitimate. The woman slid the pass across the counter. Congratulations, ma'am. You'll need to hurry. Boarding closes in 6 minutes. For a moment, Olivia just stared at the ticket. Her name was there, printed clearly. Mrs. Olivia Carter, Seat 2A, First Class. Her pulse thudded in her ears. She looked at Lily, who was giggling, playing with her stuffed bunny. We're flying, sweetheart, she whispered, half in disbelief. She hesitated only a second longer before walking toward security. The line had thinned. Maybe it was adrenaline, maybe shock, but she moved quickly, holding Lily close. When they reached the gate, she caught a glimpse of Nathan and Vanessa, already seated near the front, laughing over champagne. Olivia froze. Every instinct told her to turn around, to run, to disappear. But something stronger rose inside, a quiet fire. She remembered Nathan's shove, his cold eyes, the way people stared at her, like she was nothing. No more. Not today. She adjusted Lily's blanket, lifted her chin, and walked down the jet bridge. The flight attendant at the entrance smiled. Welcome aboard, Mrs. Carter. Seat 2A, right this way. Nathan looked up mid-laugh. The color drained from his face. What are you doing here? He hissed, voice low but furious. Olivia met his eyes without blinking. Apparently I was upgraded, she said evenly. Vanessa stiffened, trying to hide her surprise. The flight attendant guided Olivia past them toward her seat. As she settled Lily beside her, Olivia caught Nathan still staring, panic flickering beneath his polished facade. The engines hummed, passengers buckled up. Olivia stared out the window, snowflakes drifting past the glass like tiny ghosts. The humiliation still burned, but underneath it, something unexpected began to stir. An intuition that this wasn't random. Someone, somewhere, wanted her on this flight for a reason. She rested a hand on her belly and whispered to her unborn child, I don't know who's behind this, but maybe it's time we stop running. Her phone vibrated. A message flashed from an unknown number. Don't panic, you'll understand soon. Watch and listen. She gasped softly, looking around, heart racing. Nathan was glancing nervously at his phone too. The flight hadn't even taken off, and already the tables were starting to turn. 3 months earlier, the morning sun spilled over the skyline of Manhattan, washing the Upper East Side apartment in a soft, golden glow. From the outside, Olivia Carter's life looked perfect. Her husband Nathan was a respected financial executive. Their penthouse shimmered with the illusion of success. Tiffany lamps, a silver-framed wedding photo on the marble counter, the faint scent of Dior perfume lingering in the air. But inside, the silence was suffocating. Olivia stood at the kitchen island, stirring oatmeal for little Lily. The girl was humming along to a cartoon playing softly on the iPad. Nathan walked in, adjusting his Rolex, glancing at his reflection in the glass door. He looked impeccable as always. You're still in pajamas? He said casually, but his tone was sharp. It's Saturday, Olivia replied, tiredly smiling. Lily wanted pancakes, but we ran out of. Then order some, Nathan interrupted, scrolling through his iPhone. We have money, don't we? His words stung. It wasn't what he said, but how, like she was an employee, not a wife. Olivia turned back to the stove, hiding her expression. She used to have dreams of her own. Before marriage, she was a fashion marketing specialist for a small luxury brand in Soho. She loved the chaos of campaigns, the late nights designing, the thrill of being needed. But when she became pregnant, Nathan convinced her to quit. Family comes first, he'd said, holding her hand. I'll take care of everything. He did take care of everything, including her independence. He insisted on handling their accounts, their bills, even her credit card. Less stress for you, he always said. She didn't realize until later it meant she had no control at all. That morning, while Nathan drank his black coffee, his phone buzzed. A message flashed across the screen. Just one word. Tonight? The sender's name appeared briefly before he flipped the phone face down. Vanessa. Olivia froze. She didn't mean to see it, but it burned into her mind. Who's Vanessa? She asked, pretending to sound casual. Nathan's smile didn't falter. New associate. She's brilliant. Helps me with client portfolios. She forced a nod, but something in her chest twisted. Later that afternoon, she found an unfamiliar Mont Blanc pen in Nathan's suit pocket. Engraved initials, VR Vanessa Reed. Her hands trembled. She wanted to believe it meant nothing, that she was just being paranoid. But deep down, a quiet dread began to grow. That night, while Nathan attended a business dinner, Olivia sat alone on the couch, Lily asleep beside her. She turned on the TV for noise, but her reflection stared back in the dark screen. Tired eyes, hair undone, a woman fading inside her own home. Her phone buzzed. A message from her best friend, Grace Evans. "You okay? Haven't heard from you all week." Olivia hesitated before replying. "Just tired. Nathan's busy again." Grace's next message came instantly. "If he's too busy for his family, something's wrong. Don't ignore your gut, Liv." Olivia stared at the text for a long moment. Grace always had that sixth sense. Suddenly a soft thud echoed from the hallway. She turned. Nathan had returned earlier than expected. His cologne filled the room, stronger than usual. He didn't kiss her. He didn't even look at her. He just went straight to the bedroom, phone still glowing in his hand. Olivia sat frozen, the TV still flickering silently. She glanced toward the window, where the Manhattan skyline shimmered like a million secrets waiting to explode. Somewhere between the luxury and the lies, a woman began to wake up. The night before the flight, the Carters hosted what looked like a perfect dinner. Their penthouse glowed with warm light from crystal chandeliers, soft jazz playing through the surround speakers. A Cartier box sat unopened on the counter, a gift Nathan had bought for appearances before a charity gala. From the outside, everything was elegance. Inside, it was pure tension. Olivia moved carefully between the dining table and the kitchen, balancing plates of roasted salmon and asparagus. Her belly, round beneath her silk dress, made every step heavier. Lily sat at the table, playing with her crayons, while Nathan sipped wine and scrolled through his phone. He didn't look up as she served him. "You're quiet tonight," he said absently. "I'm just tired," Olivia answered softly. "The baby's been kicking non-stop." Nathan's reply was non-committal, his eyes fixed on the glowing screen. Olivia glanced at the clock. 8:47 p.m. The same minute every night that week when Nathan received a message. She noticed his thumb hover, then the faint buzz of another text. She didn't have to look to know who it was from. Vanessa Reed. Trying to hide her unease, she poured herself water and sat down. "You said tomorrow's trip is just business?" Nathan finally looked up. His eyes were calm, but distant. "Yes, meetings in LA, I already told you. You didn't mention bringing anyone else." He paused just long enough for her to notice. "Vanessa's coming. She handles the client data. It's normal." Olivia felt her throat tighten. "Normal? For you to travel alone with her?" Nathan laughed lightly, but there was no warmth in it. "You're being emotional again. You always do this when you're pregnant." "I'm not emotional," she said quietly. "I'm your wife, Nathan, and I can tell when something's off." He set down his glass harder than necessary. The sharp clink made Lily flinch. "Don't start this tonight. I need rest. Early flight tomorrow." Olivia lowered her gaze, forcing herself to stay calm. The air between them was thick with words unsaid. After dinner, Nathan retreated to his office. Olivia gathered the dishes mechanically, every motion slow, deliberate. On the counter lay an envelope marked travel details. Curiosity got the best of her. She opened it and froze. 2 first-class tickets, Nathan Carter and Vanessa Reed. No mention of Olivia. Her stomach twisted. She leaned against the counter, eyes burning. 7 months pregnant, and he was planning to fly off with another woman while she stayed behind like a forgotten shadow. The sound of footsteps made her shove the envelope back and straighten. Nathan stood in the doorway, watching her. "What are you doing?" His voice was quiet but edged with warning. "I was cleaning," she lied too quickly. He studied her face for a moment, then smirked. "Good. Keep yourself busy." He brushed past her, grabbing his coat. "I'll be at the office finishing last-minute work." Olivia waited until the door clicked shut before collapsing into a chair. Her hands shook. For the first time, she whispered words she'd never dared to say aloud. "He doesn't love me anymore." She sat there for a long time, listening to the ticking clock, the city humming beyond the glass. Finally, she picked up her phone and texted Grace. "I think Nathan's cheating." Grace replied instantly. "Then don't wait to find proof. Let him expose himself." Olivia stared at the message, a spark of resolve flickering inside her. The next day would change everything. She just didn't know how yet. Tomorrow's flight wouldn't take her where she expected. It would take her to the truth. The morning of the flight began with silence. Olivia woke before dawn, the city still asleep beneath a gray Manhattan sky. Nathan's side of the bed was empty. The faint scent of his cologne lingered in the sheets, cold, unfamiliar. She sat up slowly, rubbing her swollen belly. Today was supposed to be the day they flew to Los Angeles together, a family trip before the baby came. Instead, dread filled the air like static. Lily toddled into the room, clutching her stuffed bunny. "Mommy, are we flying today?" Olivia forced a smile. "Yes, sweetheart, we're flying." She dressed in a cream sweater and maternity jeans, then packed snacks, diapers, and Lily's blanket into the stroller bag. Nathan returned just before 8, wearing a charcoal suit and sunglasses even though it was cloudy. He didn't greet them. He only said, "The car's downstairs." The ride to JFK was quiet. Nathan typed on his phone, thumbs moving fast. Olivia watched him from the corner of her eye. She wanted to speak, to ask why there were only 2 tickets in that envelope, but her voice wouldn't come. She stared out the window, the skyline shrinking behind them like a memory fading into mist. At the terminal, Nathan moved briskly toward the first-class counter. Olivia followed, pushing Lily in her stroller. That's when she saw her, Vanessa Reed, standing by the window in a sleek black coat, hair perfectly styled, holding her passport. Her eyes met Olivia's for a split second. Then Vanessa smiled, polite but sharp. "Nathan," Olivia whispered, "you said this was business." He didn't even look at her. "It is." Before she could react, he grabbed Vanessa's suitcase and handed it to a porter. The gesture was too intimate, too natural. Olivia's throat tightened. "Nathan, I'm your wife. Why is she—" "Stop making a scene," he snapped under his breath. "You're embarrassing yourself." Her cheeks burned. People turned to look. Lily started to fuss, sensing the tension. Nathan stepped closer, his voice low and cutting. "I told you, Olivia, stay out of this. You're not coming." She blinked, stunned. "What?" He sighed, impatient. "The flight's full. There were changes. Just go home. I'll call you tonight." Olivia shook her head, tears blurring her vision. "You planned this, didn't you?" "Don't start." His tone turned icy. "You're unstable right now, pregnant, emotional. Don't you dare call me unstable." Her voice cracked. "You're leaving me again, with your daughter watching." He took a step forward, jaw tight, eyes darting toward the watching crowd. Then, in one motion, he shoved the stroller toward her. "Enough, Olivia. Go home." The stroller hit her midsection. Pain shot through her belly as she stumbled backward, barely catching Lily before she fell. The crowd gasped. A security guard started walking over, but Nathan raised his hands. "She's fine," he said quickly. "She just lost her balance." Olivia's vision swam. The humiliation burned deeper than the ache in her ribs. "You'll regret this," she whispered. Nathan turned away, his hand on Vanessa's back, guiding her toward the check-in desk. The guard looked at Olivia uncertainly. "Ma'am, are you okay?" She nodded weakly, tears spilling. "I just need a minute." She sank onto a bench, clutching Lily close, every breath sharp with betrayal. Around her, the world moved on, boarding calls, chatter, laughter. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from Grace. "Are you at the airport yet?" Olivia typed back with shaking fingers. "He's leaving with her." Seconds later, Grace's reply flashed. "Then don't leave, just wait. You're about to see something." Olivia looked up, confused, as the intercom buzzed overhead. "Mrs. Olivia Carter, please come to counter B immediately." The world had just knocked her down, but the stage for revenge was already set. For several seconds after the announcement, Olivia couldn't breathe. Her name echoed through the terminal again, calm and distant, as if it belonged to another woman entirely. "Mrs. Olivia Carter, counter B." She blinked, dizzy, clutching Lily close. The humiliation, the pain in her ribs, the weight of betrayal, everything crashed into one moment. Around her, strangers whispered. Some offered pitying glances. Others looked away, pretending not to see. Olivia swallowed hard, trying to steady her trembling hands. "Come on, baby," she whispered to Lily. "Let's see what they want." She pushed the stroller slowly through the crowd, her breath uneven. Each step hurt, not just from the shove, but from the ache of realization. Nathan didn't just stop loving her, he wanted her erased. At the counter, a kind-faced airline worker greeted her. "Mrs. Carter, we've been expecting you. Please take this." Olivia frowned. "Expecting me? There must be a mistake." "No mistake," the woman said, handing her a new boarding pass and envelope. "A first-class upgrade, courtesy of a corporate sponsor. They insisted you receive it right away." "A sponsor?" Olivia repeated, confused. Yes, ma'am, all arrangements have been confirmed. Olivia stared at the pass, her name again, printed in gold letters. She turned the envelope over, noticing the faint scent of vanilla and ink. Inside was a small card with 2 words written neatly. Trust the process. No signature. Her pulse raced. She didn't know whether to be terrified or curious. She looked down at Lily, who smiled innocently. Mommy, we're flying? Olivia hesitated, then nodded. Yes, sweetheart. We're flying. When she approached the gate, she could see Nathan and Vanessa already boarding. Nathan laughed at something Vanessa whispered, the sound slicing through her chest like glass. He hadn't even looked back. Not once. As she stood there, frozen in disbelief, her phone vibrated. A message appeared from an unknown number. Board the flight. Don't speak to him. Just sit. You'll understand soon. Olivia's breath caught. Was it Grace or someone else? Against every instinct, she stepped forward. The gate agent smiled politely and scanned her ticket. Enjoy your flight, Mrs. Carter. The hum of the jet bridge surrounded her, sterile and cold. She could hear the engines starting, smell the faint perfume of expensive cologne. Her heart pounded so hard it felt like it might burst. Inside the cabin, Nathan's expression froze. He half rose from his seat. Olivia, what the hell are you doing here? I was upgraded, she replied quietly, keeping her voice even. Apparently, we're on the same flight. Vanessa's lips tightened. Nathan's eyes darted toward the attendants, aware of the curious stares from other passengers. We'll talk later, he muttered sharply. Olivia ignored him. She settled Lily beside her and buckled up. The flight attendant smiled, offering her a warm towel. For the first time in months, Olivia didn't feel like a ghost. She was still here. Breathing. Watching. As the plane taxied down the runway, she glanced at Nathan, his jaw tight, his hand gripping the armrest. He looked nervous, not guilty. That told her everything she needed to know. Halfway through the ascent, her phone buzzed again. She opened it under the blanket. Another message appeared. He's not just cheating, he's laundering. Stay calm. Her blood ran cold. Laundering? Her mind flashed back to nights Nathan stayed late at work, to the calls he took in whispers, to the sudden increase in their bank accounts. It wasn't just infidelity, it was something darker. Olivia exhaled slowly, heart hammering. She turned her gaze to the window, where the clouds stretched endlessly beneath them. Her marriage had died on the ground, but in the sky, a far bigger storm was about to break. The plane leveled out somewhere above the clouds. A pale light filled the cabin, soft and deceptive, like calm before a storm. Olivia sat in seat 2A, her fingers tracing the edge of the envelope she still kept tucked in her lap. Her heart hadn't stopped racing since takeoff. Lily was asleep beside her, clutching her bunny, her tiny chest rising and falling peacefully. Olivia wished she could breathe that easily. Across the aisle, Nathan leaned toward Vanessa, whispering. Their heads were close, their laughter low and intimate. From where Olivia sat, it was impossible not to hear fragments. Transfer, account, client code. The words meant little on their own, but strung together they sounded dangerous. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. Record everything. Don't confront him yet. She swallowed, sliding her phone under a napkin and turning on the recorder. The soft hum of the engines masked the sound. Every nerve in her body tingled. Vanessa's voice floated over. Don't worry. Grace said the documents are ready. Olivia froze. Grace. Her best friend's name dropped casually into the conversation between her husband and his supposed mistress. What did that mean? Was Grace working with them? Or was Vanessa lying? Her stomach twisted. Nathan sipped his champagne, oblivious to the storm building just a few feet away. After LA, we're moving the assets, he said. Everything will be under your name for a few days. Safer that way? Vanessa nodded, but Olivia caught a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. And your wife? She asked quietly. Nathan scoffed. She's nothing without me. Once I file, she gets whatever I allow her to have. Olivia's throat tightened. She bit her lip to stop it from trembling, every word sliced deeper than the one before. Then something shifted. Vanessa leaned closer to Nathan, but this time her tone was strange, almost rehearsed. And the offshore accounts? You said they're hidden under the charity's ledger? Nathan nodded. Exactly. Nobody will find it. Her phone kept recording, the small red dot blinking beneath the napkin. Olivia's mind raced. Offshore accounts, charity ledgers, laundering. The message she'd received was true. She couldn't let him destroy her anymore. The flight attendant approached, offering refills. Olivia shook her head, forcing a smile. Her voice trembled as she asked softly, "Excuse me, could I have a copy of the in-flight Wi-Fi receipt after we land? I'll need it for documentation." The attendant nodded cheerfully. "Of course, ma'am." Every detail would matter later. Every timestamp, every name. An hour later, turbulence jolted the cabin. Nathan reached for Vanessa's hand instinctively, a gesture that once belonged to Olivia. The seatbelt sign blinked. Olivia's phone vibrated again. Another message. "Good, you're getting everything. Don't trust anyone until we land." Her heart pounded. Who was behind these messages? Grace, or someone else pulling strings? When the plane began its descent, Nathan turned to look at her for the first time since the airport. His expression was unreadable. "You shouldn't have come," he muttered. Olivia met his gaze calmly. "Maybe I was meant to." He frowned, but before he could respond, the announcement came. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Los Angeles." As the wheels touched down, Olivia felt the tremor of something much larger than a flight ending. It was a war beginning. Passengers clapped softly as the plane taxied to the gate. Vanessa gathered her bag, smiling faintly at Olivia. "Safe trip," she said, her tone polite but heavy with meaning. Olivia nodded slowly. "You too." The doors opened. The first rays of California sun spilled through the aisle, warm and blinding. Olivia lifted Lily into her arms and stepped into the light. She boarded this plane as a victim, but she was about to land as a threat. The California sun hit hard when Olivia stepped off the plane. The air was dry, bright, almost too alive for the numbness sitting in her chest. She carried Lily through the terminal, feeling the weight of both her daughter and the truth she now carried. Every echo of Nathan's voice from the flight replayed in her mind. Offshore accounts, hidden ledgers, Vanessa's rehearsed questions. There was no doubt anymore. Her husband wasn't just unfaithful, he was corrupt. Outside, the airport buzzed with noise, cars honking, suitcases rolling, travelers greeting loved ones. Nathan didn't wait for her. He and Vanessa slipped into a sleek black Mercedes that whisked them away before Olivia could even catch her breath. She watched from the curb, her reflection warped in the car's tinted glass. "Mommy, are we going home?" Lily asked softly. Olivia's throat tightened. "Not yet, baby. Mommy has something to fix first." She opened her phone. Another message blinked from the unknown number. "Hotel Ritz-Carlton, downtown. Ask for Grace Evans at the lobby desk." Grace. Relief flooded her chest. If this was really Grace, she wasn't alone. A cab dropped her at the hotel an hour later. The lobby gleamed with marble floors and soft golden light. It smelled like citrus and money. Olivia's sneakers squeaked faintly as she crossed to the desk, clutching Lily's hand. "Excuse me," she whispered to the receptionist. "I'm looking for Grace Evans." The woman smiled knowingly. "She said you'd come, room 1108. Olivia hesitated by the elevator, nerves crawling up her spine. What if Grace wasn't here? What if this was a trap Nathan set to lure her back? But when the elevator doors opened, Grace stood waiting. Jeans, blazer, and that same sharp, reassuring smile Olivia hadn't seen in months. "Liv." The single word broke her. Olivia threw her arms around her friend, tears spilling freely. "He pushed me, Grace. In front of everyone. He's with her. And there's more. He's doing something illegal. I heard it on the plane." Grace guided her into the suite, closing the door behind them. "I know," she said softly. "That's why I called you." Olivia blinked, confused. "You knew?" Grace nodded. "I've been investigating his company for months. It started as a financial story, but then I found out the accounts connected to his name. Offshore transfers, charity laundering. When I realized it was your husband, I brought someone in to get close to him." Olivia's stomach dropped. "Vanessa?" Grace met her eyes. "She's on our side, Liv. She's been undercover this whole time." Olivia sank onto the couch, head spinning. "You mean all that on the plane was part of the setup?" Grace said. "We needed him to say it out loud." "And you recorded it, didn't you?" Olivia pulled out her phone, trembling. "Every word." Grace smiled faintly. "Then we have him." For the first time, Olivia felt the tightness in her chest loosen. "I thought I was losing my mind." "You were never crazy," Grace said. "You were just married to a man who thought you'd never fight back." The two women sat in silence for a moment. The city glowed beyond the window, the skyline sharp and golden against the fading day. Lily slept peacefully in Grace's lap. unaware of the storm outside. Olivia looked out at the horizon, her reflection faint in the glass. "He destroyed everything I trusted," she whispered. "Then rebuild it stronger," Grace said. "Let him think you're broken. The more he underestimates you, the harder he'll fall." Olivia turned, a faint smile curving her lips for the first time in weeks. Then it's time to play along. She had been humiliated, betrayed, discarded, but tonight she began her rebirth. The next morning, sunlight spilled across the Ritz-Carlton suite, filtering through sheer curtains that fluttered gently in the breeze. Olivia sat on the edge of the bed, dressed in the same wrinkled clothes from yesterday, her eyes shadowed but sharp. Grace handed her a cup of coffee. "You didn't sleep," she said softly. Olivia shook her head. "Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him. Laughing, pushing me, acting like I was nothing." Grace sat across from her. "Good. Remember that feeling. You'll need it." Olivia looked down at her phone. Dozens of missed calls and texts from Nathan lit the screen. "Where are you? Stop being dramatic. Come back to the hotel." His tone had shifted from irritation to control. He wasn't worried for her safety. He was worried about exposure. Grace leaned closer. "He can't suspect you know anything yet. If he thinks you're broken, he'll slip. You need to play the part of the defeated wife." Olivia's throat tightened. "I can't face him." "Yes, you can," Grace replied firmly. "You're not the same woman he left at that airport." Later that morning, Olivia stood in front of the mirror, brushing her hair into a simple ponytail. The reflection staring back looked tired, fragile, but inside she was steel. Grace handed her a slim black phone. Encrypted line, "Text me everything he says. Don't call unless it's an emergency." Olivia nodded, pocketing the device. By noon, she was standing in the marble lobby of the hotel where Nathan was staying. When the elevator doors opened, his expression was a perfect mask of faux concern. "Olivia," he said loudly, pulling her into a quick embrace that felt more like restraint than comfort. "You scared me. Why did you disappear like that?" She kept her voice low and shaky, just as Grace had coached. I didn't know what to do. You left me there." Nathan sighed, guiding her into the room. "You're overreacting? I told you it was a misunderstanding. Vanessa and I, this is all business." Olivia forced a tear to slide down her cheek. "Business? That looks like love?" He turned away, running a hand through his hair. "You don't understand how the world works, Olivia. I'm under pressure. The firm's depending on me. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made." She let her voice tremble. "And I'm one of those sacrifices?" Nathan hesitated, then softened his tone. "You know I care about you, about the baby. You just make things harder when you act paranoid." Her fingers curled into fists behind her back. Every word was manipulation, carefully calculated guilt, but she swallowed it down, nodding weakly. "You're right, I overreacted." His shoulders eased. "Good, let's not fight anymore. Just stay quiet, stay calm. Once I handle this project, everything will go back to normal." Olivia lowered her gaze. "I'll do whatever you need." Nathan smiled, satisfied. "That's my girl." When he stepped out to take a call, Olivia turned toward the window, her expression hardening. She pulled out the black phone and typed, "He's convinced. He thinks I'm broken." Grace replied instantly, "Perfect. Phase 2 starts tomorrow. Vanessa will send the documents." Olivia stared out at the Los Angeles skyline, sunlight bouncing off the mirrored towers. Somewhere in those buildings were the secrets Nathan thought untouchable. But now, every lie he built was being quietly dismantled. That night he took her to dinner to make peace. Vanessa joined them, smiling sweetly, playing her part. Olivia said little, just watched, recorded, remembered. The waiter poured champagne. Nathan toasted to fresh starts. Olivia clinked her glass, her smile small but deadly. "To endings," she murmured. He thought she'd surrendered, but she was already holding the knife he'd never see coming. 2 days later, Los Angeles was painted in gold. The city hummed with late afternoon heat as Olivia stood on the balcony of the Ritz-Carlton suite, watching the skyline shimmer like a mirage. Nathan was gone for the morning, meeting investors, which really meant sealing whatever criminal deal he was desperate to hide. Inside, Lily napped on the bed, her small hand clutching her bunny. Olivia's heart softened for a moment, then hardened again. She had no choice but to fight, for Lily. For herself. Her phone buzzed on the table. A message from Grace. "Vanessa's ready. Meeting tonight at 7. Don't let him suspect anything." Olivia typed back, "He still thinks I'm scared. He keeps calling me sweetheart again." Grace's reply came instantly. Good, let him think that. Fear makes him sloppy. The clock ticked slowly through the afternoon. Olivia rehearsed every line, every look. If she flinched, if she broke, it would all collapse. Nathan could never know that Grace and Vanessa were working together, or that Olivia had recorded his every incriminating word. When he returned around 6, he was in his element. Expensive suit, Mont Blanc pen clipped perfectly to his pocket, that rehearsed charm he used to manipulate anyone who got too close. "You look beautiful," he said, sliding a hand to her back. She forced a small smile. "You said we were going to dinner?" He nodded. "At the River Cafe. Business associates might join, but you'll love the view. Just be supportive, okay? Smile." Olivia nodded, hiding her trembling hands behind her purse. The restaurant glowed with warm lights and a panoramic view of downtown. Nathan greeted the maitre d' like a king, his arm possessively around Olivia. The table they were led to was secluded, near a window. A few minutes later, Vanessa arrived, radiant as always, carrying a sleek leather folder. "Sorry I'm late," she said, her voice smooth. Traffic was brutal. Nathan smiled at her, the kind of smile that once melted Olivia. Now it only made her sick. They ordered drinks. Conversation drifted easily between business talk and small laughter. Olivia said little, just enough to seem polite. Her phone was recording again under the table. Then Vanessa opened the folder. "Here are the final transfers," she said, sliding papers toward Nathan. "If you sign these tonight, the funds move by midnight." Olivia's chest tightened. This was it. Nathan flipped through the pages, lowering his voice. "Everything under the charitable foundation name?" "Yes," Vanessa replied. "Completely untraceable." He smirked. "Perfect." Olivia's phone buzzed once, a vibration only she could feel. A new message from Grace. "Security cameras are on. Vanessa's mic is live. Keep him talking for 2 more minutes." Olivia looked up, heart pounding. She forced her voice to tremble. "Nathan, what is this about? Why are you signing under fake names?" Nathan froze, then laughed coldly. "It's complicated, honey. You wouldn't understand. Try me." He leaned closer, his whisper sharp. "You think the rich stay rich by following rules? This is how power works. You hide it where no one can touch it." Vanessa smiled faintly. "He's right, Olivia. Power isn't about honesty. It's about control." But Olivia caught it, a secret gleam in Vanessa's eyes, a signal. Nathan signed the papers. "Done," he said smugly. At that exact moment, the waiter approached with a discreet nod. "Excuse me, sir. A phone call for you at the front." Nathan frowned, irritated. "Can it wait?" The waiter smiled. "It's urgent." "From your firm." Nathan rose, muttering. Vanessa leaned over to Olivia, her whisper like a blade. "We have everything. The documents, the recordings, the footage. Grace is sending it to the SEC right now." Olivia's breath caught. "Then it's over?" Vanessa shook her head. "Not yet. Tomorrow, he'll know what it feels like to lose everything." Olivia exhaled slowly, feeling something break free inside her. The storm she'd feared for months wasn't coming. It had already begun. And this time, she was the one controlling the thunder. The next morning began with a silence too sharp to be ordinary. Olivia woke in the hotel suite to the faint hum of the city below, the kind of hum that hinted something had shifted overnight. The sunlight spilled through the blinds, but it felt colder somehow, as if the world was holding its breath. She rolled over and saw her phone blinking with unread messages. 5 from Nathan, 3 from unknown numbers, 1 from Grace. Grace's text read, "He doesn't know yet. The SEC's subpoena will hit at noon. Stay calm, play dumb." Olivia's pulse quickened. Her heart thudded in her chest, part terror, part exhilaration. For months she had lived in fear, waiting for Nathan's temper, his manipulation, his control. But today, she was the quiet hand that held his collapse. She dressed simply, jeans, white blouse, hair tied back, and woke Lily with a soft kiss. The child smiled sleepily. "Mommy, pancakes?" Olivia smiled faintly. "Of course, baby, pancakes." Downstairs in the hotel cafe, she ordered breakfast, pretending to scroll her phone. News alerts began flashing across every screen mounted to the walls. Carter Investments under federal investigation. Her stomach clenched. The headline was paired with Nathan's photo, his polished smile now plastered above the words money laundering, offshore accounts, falsified ledgers. Her phone buzzed again. "Nathan." She hesitated, then answered. "Olivia?" His voice snapped through the line, tight with panic. "Where are you?" "In the cafe," she said softly, keeping her tone innocent. "Why? Don't play games with me." The firm's been raided. Grace Evans, that reporter friend of yours, she's behind this. You knew, didn't you? Olivia blinked slowly, heart pounding. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, he shouted. You think this is justice? You just destroyed everything. She glanced around, noticing people in the cafe watching. She lowered her voice. Nathan, maybe this is just karma catching up. There was a long, ragged pause. You'll regret this, he hissed. I'll take Lily. You'll have nothing. Before she could respond, the line went dead. Her hands trembled. For a moment, fear clawed at her throat, but then Grace appeared, sliding into the seat across from her, a coffee in hand and calm written all over her face. He's losing it, Grace said. Exactly what we wanted. Olivia exhaled shakily. He just threatened me. Let him, Grace said, sipping her coffee. Every word, every call, recorded. It'll only strengthen your custody case. Outside, sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Grace's phone vibrated. She checked it, then smiled. Vanessa's safe. She turned in the documents personally this morning. The FBI has copies of everything. Nathan's frozen out of his accounts. Olivia felt dizzy. It's really happening. Grace nodded. By tonight, he'll be the headline of every news outlet in the country. An hour later, Olivia returned to the suite to pack their things. The phone rang again. This time it wasn't Nathan. It was an unfamiliar female voice, cold and composed. Mrs. Carter, this is Detective Monroe with the Financial Crimes Division. We'll need you to come in to make a statement this afternoon. Olivia's breath hitched. Of course, she said quietly. As she hung up, she glanced at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes looked older, sharper. For the first time in years, she saw not a woman broken by betrayal, but a survivor standing in her place. By noon, every major news channel had Nathan's name scrolling in bold across their screens. Olivia sat on the hotel bed, watching his mugshot flash beside the anchor's voice. Authorities confirm evidence provided by an anonymous whistleblower. Anonymous. She smiled faintly. Grace texted her one final message. Congratulations, phase 2 complete. Now it's your turn to rise. Olivia looked down at sleeping Lily and whispered, He built his empire on lies, but we're building our future on truth. The empire of deceit was crumbling, and its queen had finally learned how to rule her own throne. By the time Olivia stepped out of the cab in front of the federal building downtown, cameras were already flashing. Reporters shouted her name, their voices blending into a chaotic blur. Mrs. Carter, did you know about your husband's illegal accounts? Are you the whistleblower? Is it true he tried to flee the country? The winter sun glared against the marble steps, but Olivia kept walking, head high, one hand resting on her pregnant belly. She wore a plain navy dress, no jewelry, no makeup except for a soft pink gloss. Grace's voice echoed in her head from earlier that morning. Don't hide. Walk like you belong there. The world needs to see the real Olivia Carter. Inside, the air was cool and sterile. A young agent guided her through the hallways to a private conference room. Mrs. Carter, this way please. Detective Monroe will meet you shortly. Olivia nodded, her pulse steady. She'd spent the night memorizing everything. Dates, amounts, offshore names, even the fake foundations Nathan had built under their family trust. Every detail she'd overheard on the plane, every file Vanessa had shared, was now neatly stored in her mind like ammunition. When Detective Monroe entered, she was calm but firm. Mrs. Carter, thank you for coming. We know this isn't easy. Olivia smiled faintly. It's easier than living a lie. The detective flipped open a folder. Your husband's facing multiple felony charges. We need to confirm whether you were aware of his activities or benefited from them. I wasn't aware, Olivia said evenly, but I was his cover. He made sure everything looked clean under my name. I've brought proof. She handed over a USB drive Grace had prepared. Financial statements, wire transfers, and recorded conversations. He thought I was too naive to notice, but I always remembered details. The detective glanced at the files, then back at her. You're saving us months of work. Olivia's lips curved slightly. I'm just saving myself. 2 hours later, she left the building, surrounded by reporters again. This time, her stride was deliberate. Cameras caught her silhouette against the afternoon light. The picture of quiet resilience. Grace waited across the street beside a black car, waving her over. Everything go smoothly? Grace asked as Olivia climbed in. Better than expected. They have everything now. Nathan's finished. Grace grinned. Good, because the media's eating it up. They're calling you the silent wife who spoke loudest. Olivia laughed softly for the first time in weeks. I didn't even say a word. That's the beauty of it, Grace said. Truth doesn't need to scream, it just needs to show up. As they drove through the city, Olivia watched skyscrapers rise above them, sunlight reflecting off the glass like shards of broken illusions. She thought of all the nights she'd cried in silence, afraid of losing her home, her marriage, her safety. Now she realized she'd already lost those things long ago, but gained something far greater. Control. When they arrived back at the Ritz-Carlton, the doorman greeted her differently. With respect, recognition. She wasn't invisible anymore. Upstairs, Olivia tucked Lily into bed for an afternoon nap, then sat by the window overlooking the skyline. The phone buzzed again, this time an email from Tiffany & Co., the same luxury brand she'd once worked for before Nathan convinced her to quit. We're relaunching our Women Reclaim Power campaign, it read. We'd like you to be our new face. Her breath caught. She read it again, disbelieving. Grace peeked over her shoulder, eyes widening. You're kidding. Olivia shook her head slowly, tears welling. No, I think this is real, Grace smiled, proud. See? The world finally sees you. Olivia closed her eyes for a moment, letting the weight of the day sink in. The fear, the humiliation, the endless pretending, it all led here. She wasn't Nathan's shadow anymore. She was her own name, her own story. He had built his empire on deception. She was about to build hers on truth, and the whole world was watching. The world woke up to Nathan Carter's face. His mugshot spread across every major news outlet in America, from CNBC to the New York Times. Headlines screamed betrayal and greed. Finance executive Nathan Carter charged with fraud and money laundering. Charity funds traced to offshore accounts under wife's name. But now everyone knew the truth, that Olivia Carter was the one who exposed it all. Inside the Ritz-Carlton suite, Olivia stood by the window in a cream blouse and soft gray slacks, watching the news in silence. Lily played quietly on the rug, stacking toy blocks. The television volume was low, but the voice of the anchor still reached her. Sources confirm that Mr. Carter's wife, Olivia, is cooperating with federal investigators and is not facing charges. Grace entered, holding 2 Starbucks coffees. You look calm, she said, handing one over. Olivia smiled faintly. I feel free, for the first time. Grace sank onto the couch. You realize you just made history, right? A man who thought he was untouchable, brought down by the wife he tried to erase. Olivia looked out the window, sunlight glinting off her wedding ring. The last relic of a lie. Slowly, she slid it off and placed it on the coffee table. He erased himself. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it until she saw the preview. You think you've won? Her pulse jumped. She opened it. You ruined me, Olivia, but this isn't over. Nathan? Grace saw her face pale. What's wrong? Olivia handed her the phone silently. Grace read the text and scoffed. He's desperate. He's probably already in custody. But before she could finish, the TV cut to breaking news. The anchor's tone changed, urgent, breathless. Developing story. Nathan Carter escaped custody early this morning during a transfer to federal holding. Authorities are searching the Los Angeles area. The coffee cup slipped from Olivia's fingers, splattering across the carpet. He's out? Grace stood immediately, eyes sharp. They'll find him. He can't go far. Olivia's heart pounded. He has money hidden somewhere. He could come here. Grace grabbed her phone. Then we move. Now. Within minutes, hotel security escorted them to a private exit. Grace called Detective Monroe, explaining the situation. The detective's calm voice came through the line. We have protection detail on the way. Stay inside a secure location until we arrive. They relocated to a safe suite on another floor, one without windows facing the street. Olivia tried to stay composed for Lily, who sensed something was wrong. The little girl clung to her stuffed bunny, whispering, Mommy, is Daddy mad? Olivia knelt and hugged her tight. No, baby, Daddy made mistakes, but we're safe. An hour passed. Olivia sat on the couch, every sound amplified. The elevator ding, footsteps in the hall, the faint hum of the air conditioner. Her phone buzzed again. A new message. You'll never take my daughter. Her stomach dropped. Grace checked her own phone. They're tracing it now. Moments later, the room phone rang. Olivia's hand hovered over it. Grace answered first, her voice steady. Hello? Silence. Then a man's voice, low and broken. Tell her I just want to see Lily, one last time. Grace hung up instantly and locked the door. He's close. Seconds later, there was a loud bang from the hallway. Security shouting, footsteps rushing. Olivia clutched Lily, heart in her throat. Then the sound of a struggle, a yell, and silence. Minutes later, Detective Monroe appeared at the door, flanked by officers. "It's over," she said. "We got him." Olivia's knees gave out as relief flooded through her. Grace caught her before she fell. Tears streamed down her face, not of fear, but release. "Let him face the life he built," Olivia whispered. The curtain had fallen on Nathan Carter, and behind it, Olivia finally stood in her own light. 3 weeks later, the courthouse on Spring Street was surrounded by a wall of flashing cameras. Reporters lined the steps, their microphones raised like weapons, each fighting for a quote. "Will Mrs. Carter testify? Is it true she has the recordings? How does it feel to face him again?" Inside, Olivia Carter stood by the tall wooden doors of courtroom 3B, her palms damp but steady. She wore a simple black dress and pearl earrings Grace had lent her, elegant, understated, powerful. The courtroom buzzed with the low hum of whispers as spectators filled every seat. Federal agents guarded the entrance. Grace squeezed her shoulder. "You ready?" Olivia nodded, her voice calm. "I've been ready for years." When Nathan was brought in, the air seemed to shift. Gone was the polished executive who once commanded boardrooms. He looked hollow now, orange jumpsuit, wrists cuffed, eyes sunken. For a brief moment, their gazes met across the room. His stare wasn't remorseful. It was venomous. Judge Whitmore entered, and the courtroom fell silent. The trial began with the prosecution presenting the mountain of evidence gathered by Grace, Vanessa, and Olivia. Financial records, audio recordings, surveillance footage. Every word Nathan had ever said on that plane now echoed in the courtroom speakers. "Power isn't about honesty. It's about control," his recorded voice sneered. The jury shifted uncomfortably. Olivia kept her eyes forward, her heart pounding but unflinching. The prosecutor turned to her. "Mrs. Carter, please take the stand." She walked up slowly, her heels clicking against the polished floor. Grace gave her an encouraging nod from the front row. When she sat, the courtroom lights seemed to dim, the world narrowing to her and the truth she carried. "Mrs. Carter," the prosecutor began gently, "you were married to the defendant for 6 years. Did you have any knowledge of his crimes?" "No," Olivia said clearly. "He made sure I didn't. He used my name for his accounts, so I would look complicit if anything ever came out. He said it was for tax purposes. I believed him because I trusted him." "And what changed?" Her voice softened. "He pushed me at an airport, in front of our daughter. That moment, something in me broke, and then I started to see everything that had been there all along." Nathan's attorney rose. "Objection, Your Honor. Emotional testimony irrelevant to the charges." The judge raised a brow. "Overruled. Let her speak?" Olivia met Nathan's eyes. "He told me I was nothing without him, that I'd never survive on my own. But now I know he needed me more than I ever needed him." A murmur rippled through the audience. The prosecutor played one final recording, Nathan laughing on the plane, bragging about hiding money under charity names. His arrogance filled the room like smoke. When it ended, silence lingered. The judge leaned forward, his voice grave. "I've heard enough. The evidence is overwhelming." Nathan slammed his hands on the table. "She set me up," he shouted. "She used me. She's a liar." The guards moved quickly, restraining him. Olivia didn't flinch. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. "Order. Mr. Carter, you will be silent." Nathan glared at her one last time, his fury breaking into desperation. "You'll regret this, Olivia." She looked at him with steady eyes. "No, Nathan, you'll regret underestimating me." The jury returned within an hour, guilty on all counts. Gasps filled the courtroom. Nathan's head dropped as the verdict echoed. Grace covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. Olivia exhaled, years of fear dissolving into the air. As Nathan was led away in chains, she turned toward the exit, sunlight streaming through the tall windows. The man who built a life on lies had fallen, and the woman he once silenced had spoken the truth loud enough for the world to hear. The courthouse emptied slowly, the sound of footsteps fading into the marble halls. Outside, sunlight spilled through the tall glass doors, flashing off the press cameras waiting beyond the barricades. Reporters shouted Olivia's name, but she didn't stop. She walked steadily down the steps, her heels clicking against stone, each step lighter than the last. Grace followed beside her, one hand gently guiding her through the sea of microphones and flashing bulbs. "Mrs. Carter, how does it feel to win?" one reporter yelled. Olivia paused for a heartbeat, meeting the crowd with a calm that came from somewhere deep inside. "It's not about winning," she said evenly. "It's about truth. It always is." The cameras exploded in light. She turned and slipped into the black sedan waiting at the curb. Inside, the noise fell away, replaced by the steady hum of the engine. She closed her eyes for a moment, exhaling everything she'd carried for years, the fear, the shame, the weight of being silenced. Grace sat beside her, scrolling through her phone. "It's official," she said. "Every major outlet's picked it up. The jury's verdict, your statement, it's everywhere. You're trending." Olivia gave a small, tired smile. "I didn't do this for headlines." "I know," Grace said softly. "But sometimes, headlines are how justice echoes." As they drove through downtown Los Angeles, Olivia's phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't reporters, it was messages from women she'd never met. "Thank you for standing up. You gave me courage to leave. I finally believe I can start over." She read each one, tears welling silently. "I was just trying to survive," she whispered. "And now," Grace said, "you're helping others do the same." They stopped by the safe house later that evening, where Lily had been playing under the care of a social worker. The moment Olivia entered, her daughter squealed and ran into her arms. "Mommy, you came back." Olivia knelt, hugging her so tightly she thought her heart might burst. "Always, baby. Mommy's never leaving again." As Lily chattered about her toys, Olivia's eyes drifted to the television playing softly in the corner. Nathan's image filled the screen, his mugshot beside the headline, "Carter sentenced to 20 years in federal prison." She stared at it for a moment, then turned the volume down. "That's enough of him," she murmured. Grace watched her quietly. "How does it feel knowing it's really over?" Olivia took a deep breath. "Like I'm breathing for the first time." Later that night, Olivia stood alone on the small balcony overlooking the city. The air was cool, the skyline glimmering under a silver moon. The lights of Los Angeles stretched endlessly. A map of possibilities she'd never dared to imagine before. Her phone rang. It was Vanessa. "Hey," Olivia said, smiling faintly. "You made it out clean?" Vanessa laughed softly. "Clean and promoted. Grace's article dropped this morning. The investigation's being called the biggest financial takedown of the decade. You're the heart of the story, Liv. They're calling you the woman who turned silence into power." Olivia leaned against the railing, her voice calm. "I don't want to be famous. I just want peace." "You've earned it," Vanessa said. "But something tells me you're not done changing lives yet." When the call ended, Olivia looked out at the horizon. A soft breeze lifted her hair, and she thought about everything she'd lost, her marriage, her home, her illusions, and everything she'd gained, strength, freedom, her daughter's laughter, and the quiet certainty that she'd never be afraid again. Behind her, Grace stepped onto the balcony with 2 glasses of sparkling cider. "To new beginnings," she said, handing one over. Olivia clinked her glass against hers. "To never letting anyone write my story for me again." The courtroom's echo had faded, but its message remained. Truth had spoken, and Olivia Carter was finally free. 6 months passed. Spring washed over Los Angeles in soft gold and green, and with it came the quiet hum of healing. Olivia Carter stood in the small kitchen of her new apartment, sunlight spilling through the window as Lily's laughter echoed from the living room. The sound filled every corner of the home, warm, alive, ordinary. The apartment wasn't large, not like the penthouse she once shared with Nathan. But it was hers. Every picture on the wall, every flower on the windowsill, every scent of fresh coffee belonged to her choices, her life. Freedom didn't look like marble floors or Cartier boxes. It looked like peace. She stirred a pot of oatmeal, smiling as Lily danced around in her pajamas. "Mommy, can we go to the park after breakfast?" "Of course," Olivia said, "but only if you eat all your strawberries first." Lily giggled and climbed onto her chair, spoon in hand. For a brief moment, Olivia just watched her. Those bright eyes, that small, fearless heart. Everything she'd endured, every tear, every sleepless night, had led to this. Safety. The phone rang. She wiped her hands and answered. "Hello? Mrs. Carter?" A smooth, professional voice came through the line. "This is Elaine from Tiffany & Co. We'd like to confirm your attendance at next week's gala. You'll be presenting the Women Reclaim Power Award, correct? Olivia smiled softly. Yes, I'll be there. Wonderful. The campaign has been a tremendous success thanks to your story. The world is listening. When the call ended, she leaned against the counter, letting the weight of those words sink in. The world is listening. A year ago, she'd been silenced. Now, she was the voice that inspired thousands. Grace arrived that afternoon, holding a stack of folders and her ever-present coffee. Big day tomorrow, she said, dropping the papers on the table. You're officially signing your book deal. The publisher wants to title it Behind the Smile. You okay with that? Olivia chuckled. As long as it's honest. Grace grinned. That's what they're paying for. Your honesty. The two women sat at the table, going over notes, discussing royalties and deadlines. For once, business didn't feel like pressure. It felt like empowerment. By late afternoon, the city was bathed in gold. Olivia and Lily walked hand in hand through Griffith Park. Children ran by, chasing bubbles that shimmered in the sun. Olivia looked up at the sky and thought about the woman she used to be, the one who whispered apologies for existing, who waited for permission to breathe. That woman was gone. At the park bench, she pulled out her notebook, a habit Grace had encouraged. On the first page, she wrote, "Freedom doesn't come after pain, it grows from it." Lily leaned over, curious. "Mommy, what's that?" "It's something I want to remember," Olivia said softly. As the sun dipped lower, her phone buzzed with a message from Vanessa. "Dinner next week? We owe you a toast. Heard your story got picked for a documentary." Olivia laughed under her breath. The world kept expanding around her. New friends, new beginnings, new light. When they got home, she tucked Lily into bed. The little girl looked up sleepily. "Mommy, are you happy now?" Olivia brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's forehead. "Yes, baby, I'm happy." After Lily drifted to sleep, Olivia sat by the window, the city lights sparkling beneath her. She thought of Nathan, still serving his sentence somewhere far away. She didn't feel hatred anymore, just closure. She picked up her pen again and wrote one more line in her notebook. "Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. It means I refuse to let the past decide who I become." She closed it, smiling. Olivia Carter had lost everything, only to realize she'd been rebuilding her real life all along. The ballroom of the Beverly Hills Hotel shimmered under crystal chandeliers, the air filled with soft jazz and the clinking of champagne glasses. Olivia Carter stood at the edge of the crowd, a vision in a simple ivory gown that flowed like liquid silk. Her hair was swept into a loose bun, and a thin diamond bracelet, one she bought herself, glimmered at her wrist. Every detail spoke of quiet power, not wealth. It was the annual Women Reclaim Power Gala, hosted by Tiffany & Co., and tonight, Olivia wasn't just attending, she was the guest of honor. Banners of her campaign hung on the digital screens. Her photo in black and white, eyes steady, captioned "Strength wears many faces." Grace appeared beside her, elegant in a navy suit, holding 2 glasses of sparkling cider. "You made it," she said, smiling. "1 year ago, you couldn't even stand being photographed. Now the world's obsessed with your story." Olivia took a glass, smiling softly. "Funny, isn't it? I used to think being seen was terrifying. Now I know it's necessary." Across the room, a group of reporters and executives whispered her name. Olivia could hear fragments. Inspirational, iconic, authentic. None of those words had ever been used for her before. Vanessa joined them, stunning in a black jumpsuit, her trademark confidence lighting up the space. "Ladies," she greeted, "tonight is history. Olivia Carter, the woman who turned betrayal into rebirth. I can't decide if I want to interview you or hug you." Olivia laughed, hugging her. "Maybe both." As the evening progressed, people lined up to speak with her. Business leaders, authors, even celebrities who had been moved by her story. Each conversation felt surreal. Once she had been invisible. Now she was a mirror for other women to see themselves in. Halfway through the event, the host stepped on stage, microphone in hand. "Tonight, we celebrate resilience, truth, and transformation. And there's no better embodiment of that than Olivia Carter. Please welcome her to the stage." Applause filled the ballroom as Olivia walked up, her heart beating hard but steady. The lights were bright, but she didn't shy away. She looked out at hundreds of faces, some familiar, some strangers, and saw hope reflected back at her. She began softly. "A year ago, I was the woman standing in an airport, humiliated and broken. I thought my life was over. But pain, I've learned, isn't the end. It's the doorway to power." The room grew silent. When you've been silenced long enough, she continued, your truth becomes a weapon. Not to destroy, but to rebuild. What happened to me could happen to anyone, but what comes after is what defines us. Grace watched from the crowd, tears glimmering in her eyes. I stand here tonight not as a victim, Olivia said, her voice stronger now, but as proof that no woman is powerless when she chooses herself. The storm that tried to drown me became the wind beneath everything I've built since. And to every woman who's ever been told she's not enough, trust me, you already are. The audience rose to their feet, the applause thunderous and long. For the first time in her life, Olivia didn't shrink from the noise. She embraced it. After the speech, people surrounded her with congratulations and admiration, but she slipped out to the balcony for a moment of quiet. The city glowed below, endless lights stretching toward the horizon. Grace soon joined her, setting a hand on her shoulder. You did it, Grace said softly. Olivia looked out at the skyline. No, she said with a small smile, we did it. They stood there in silence, the cool breeze brushing against them, the sound of applause still echoing faintly behind the doors. Once she had been pushed out of an airport, now she was walking red carpets, proof that from ruin a queen can rise. The gala had ended hours ago, but the night refused to rest. Olivia sat in her apartment, still wearing the ivory gown, her heels kicked off by the door. The city outside pulsed with life. Cars gliding through glowing streets, laughter spilling from rooftop bars, but inside everything was still. Lily slept in her room, her tiny snores a rhythm of peace. On the coffee table sat a small Tiffany box, the one she'd received after her speech. Inside was a silver bracelet engraved with 2 words, keep rising. She traced the letters with her fingertip, feeling the cold metal against her skin. Her phone buzzed. A message from Grace. Everyone's still talking about your speech. You were electric. Proud of you, Liv. Olivia smiled. Couldn't have done it without you. She set the phone down, leaned back, and closed her eyes. For the first time in months, she felt completely at peace until the doorbell rang. Her eyes opened. The clock on the wall read 11:37 p.m. She frowned, heart quickening. No one ever visited this late. She stood, walking slowly toward the door. Another ring, louder this time. Who is it? She called, voice steady but cautious. Silence. Then a man's voice, low, rough, familiar. It's me, Olivia. Please open the door. Her blood turned to ice. Nathan. She froze, staring at the door as if it might dissolve. You're supposed to be in prison, she whispered. Please, he said again, his tone trembling. I just need to talk. Her fingers hovered over the deadbolt. Every instinct screamed no. But curiosity, the ghost of the woman who once loved him, whispered look. She took a deep breath and cracked the door an inch. Nathan stood there, thinner, unshaven, eyes wild but tired. He wasn't in an orange jumpsuit. He wore plain clothes, a cheap jacket, a baseball cap pulled low. How did you get out? She asked quietly. They transferred me for testimony, he said quickly. Temporary release. I didn't know where else to go. You shouldn't have come here. I just needed to see you, he said, voice breaking. To tell you I'm sorry. She hesitated. The man in front of her wasn't the one who'd pushed her at the airport or mocked her in front of boardrooms. He was hollow, defeated, almost human. Sorry doesn't fix anything, she said softly. I know. He looked down. But I can't stop thinking about what I did. You and Lily, you were all I ever really had. I ruined it. For a moment, the silence between them felt unbearable. She remembered their early days, the laughter, the late-night walks through Central Park, the promise that love could build anything. But promises built on lies crumble fast. Olivia, he whispered, do you hate me? She looked at him for a long time. No, she said finally. I don't hate you, but I don't love you anymore either. Nathan flinched. I deserved that. He took a small step back, his eyes wet. You're stronger than I ever thought you could be. Maybe that's what scared me, Olivia exhaled. Then stop running from it. He nodded, silent. Then, almost reverently, he took something from his pocket, a folded photograph. Their wedding day. He handed it to her. Keep it. Maybe one day Lily can see that I wasn't always a monster. Olivia took it quietly. Go before the police realize you're gone. He looked at her one last time, then turned and disappeared down the dim hallway. The door closed softly behind him. Olivia stood there for a long time, staring at the photo in her hand. 2 people smiling, unaware of how much they'd lose. She slid it into a drawer and whispered, "Goodbye." Then she walked to Lily's room, watching her daughter sleep peacefully. The past had knocked, but for the first time, Olivia didn't let it back in. Morning broke in a soft wash of gold and pink over Los Angeles. Olivia Carter woke to the smell of coffee drifting through her small apartment, sunlight slipping across her sheets like a promise. For the first time in years, she'd slept through the night. No nightmares. No flashbacks of the airport, the shouting, the fall. Only silence, calm and real. She walked barefoot into the kitchen where Grace was already sitting at the table, scrolling through her laptop. "You're up early," Olivia said with a sleepy smile. Grace looked up, her hair tied in a messy bun. "Couldn't sleep. Too many good things happening." Olivia poured herself a cup of coffee and leaned against the counter. "Define good." Grace grinned. "Your campaign went global overnight. Tiffany's website crashed from the traffic, and you're officially booked for the Today Show next week." Olivia laughed softly, shaking her head. "The world moves too fast." "Maybe," Grace said, closing her laptop. "But you earned this. Every bit of it." They sat in silence for a moment, sipping coffee as sunlight filled the kitchen. Lily's laughter carried from her room as she sang to her dolls, innocent and bright. Olivia felt her chest ache in the best way. This was peace, the kind that didn't need noise or applause. "Grace," she said quietly, "Nathan came by last night." Grace froze mid-sip. "What?" "He's out temporarily, or at least he was. He said he wanted to apologize." "Did you let him in?" Olivia shook her head. "No, I didn't need to. I saw enough through the door. He's not the same man anymore." Grace frowned, her voice low. "You're sure you're safe?" "Yes, and honestly, I think that was closure." Grace reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "You've come full circle, Liv." Later that morning, Olivia took Lily to Central Park, the same place she'd once walked with Nathan years ago, when life seemed perfect and promises were still intact. Now, she walked the same path, holding her daughter's tiny hand, every step heavy with memory but light with freedom. They stopped by the pond, watching ducks glide through the water. Lily tossed crumbs of bread, her giggles echoing like wind chimes. "Mommy, are you happy now?" she asked suddenly, turning her wide blue eyes up to her mother. Olivia knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Yes, baby. I'm happy because we're free, because we made it." Lily smiled, satisfied with the answer, and went back to feeding the ducks. Across the park, photographers discreetly snapped pictures. Olivia's new life was the story people couldn't stop watching. But for her, this wasn't about fame. It was about presence, being here, breathing again. As they left the park, a breeze swept through the trees and a single white feather drifted down, landing on Olivia's shoulder. She smiled, taking it as a quiet sign from the universe. Endings could be gentle too. That afternoon, she met Grace and Vanessa for lunch at a small cafe in Soho. The three women sat by the window, sunlight painting their table in gold. Vanessa raised her glass of sparkling water. "To survival," she said. Grace added, "To sisterhood." Olivia smiled, raising hers last. "To second chances." They clinked glasses, laughter spilling between them like music. Outside, life pulsed on. Traffic, chatter, the endless rhythm of the city. But inside, time slowed just enough for Olivia to realize something important. Her story wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about rebirth. As the lunch ended, Grace touched her arm. "You know," she said, "you're starting to glow again." Olivia laughed. "That's not glow, that's freedom." She walked home later, hand in hand with Lily, the afternoon sun warm on their faces. For years, Olivia Carter had lived in shadows, but now, every step she took was bathed in daylight. A year to the day after everything fell apart, Olivia Carter woke to the sound of the ocean. The waves rolled steady and soft outside her small beach house in Malibu, where she and Lily had moved 2 months earlier. The morning light painted the room in gold. It wasn't the city skyline she once knew. It was better. Quiet, honest, real. She sat up in bed, the sea breeze brushing against her skin, and glanced at the framed photo on her nightstand. Her and Lily at the Women Reclaim Power Gala, both laughing, both free. Beneath it sat a copy of her newly released memoir, Behind the Smile, already climbing bestseller lists across the country. The title gleamed faintly under the sunlight, a reflection of everything she'd fought through to get here. Lily burst into the room, hair tousled, wearing her favorite pink pajamas. "Mommy, come see. There's a rainbow." Olivia laughed, pulling on her robe and following her daughter to the porch. Sure enough, a faint rainbow arched over the horizon, pale against the blue sky. "You see that?" Olivia said softly. "That means new beginnings." Lily nodded seriously, her small hand clutching Olivia's. "Can we keep it, Mommy?" Olivia smiled, bending to kiss her forehead. "No one can keep a rainbow, sweetheart. You just have to enjoy it while it's here." They stood there for a long time, the waves crashing gently below, the morning air filled with salt and sunlight. For Olivia, it wasn't just a rainbow. It was a symbol, proof that even after the darkest storms, something beautiful could appear. Later that day, Grace arrived, wearing sunglasses and her usual confidence. "So this is where the famous author hides out," she teased, stepping inside with a bag of groceries. Olivia grinned. "It's not hiding, it's healing." Grace set the bag down, pulling out a bottle of sparkling cider. "Then we're celebrating. Behind the smile hit #1 this morning. You're officially a phenomenon." Olivia's eyes widened. "#1? Everywhere," Grace said proudly. "Bookstores, online, even airports. Women are quoting you, Liv. You've become a voice for anyone who's ever felt invisible." Olivia sank into a chair, stunned. A year ago, she'd been the woman crying on a cold airport floor. Now she was being heard around the world. She looked out toward the sea, her voice soft. "I never wanted fame. I just wanted to be seen for who I really am." Grace smiled. "That's exactly why people love you." That afternoon, Olivia filmed a short video message for her readers. Sitting on the porch, the ocean behind her, she spoke from the heart. "To everyone who's ever been broken, betrayed, or silenced, this isn't the end. It's the beginning. The world tried to make me smaller, but I learned something. No one can shrink a woman who knows her worth." When she finished, she turned off the camera and exhaled, the weight of every word washing away with the tide. As evening fell, she and Lily built a small bonfire on the beach. The flames flickered, warm against the cool breeze. Lily roasted marshmallows, her laughter rising with the sound of the waves. Olivia watched her, smiling, her heart full. For the first time, she realized she didn't just survive, she had flourished. Not because of what she'd lost, but because of what she'd chosen. Peace over pride, truth over fear, light over darkness. She looked up at the stars, whispering to herself, "We made it." Grace joined her by the fire, holding 2 mugs of cocoa. "So," she said softly, "what's next for Olivia Carter?" Olivia glanced at Lily, chasing the tide, and smiled. "Whatever comes next, it's ours." They sat in silence, watching the waves. The storm was long gone now, but the light it left behind stayed forever. So, that's how the story ends, my friends. You're still here, aren't you? If you've stayed with me until now, maybe something in Olivia's journey touched your heart in a quiet, personal way. Maybe it reminded you of your own moments of loss, strength, or rebirth. Life will always test us, through betrayal, heartbreak, or change. But as the Stoics say, what stands in the way becomes the way. Every wound can become wisdom if we let it. Olivia's story isn't just about revenge or survival. It's about reclaiming your voice when the world tries to silence it. It's about realizing that peace isn't given. It's built, one brave choice at a time. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. So if you're going through your own storm right now, remember, no storm lasts forever. You too can rise from what was meant to break you. If this story moved you even a little, hit that like, share it with someone who needs hope tonight, and don't forget to subscribe. We have many more stories waiting, stories of healing, courage, and the quiet power that lives inside every one of us.